Carpet plants can completely transform an aquarium, but not all of them are easy to grow. I've tried a bunch of them over the years, and in this video, I'm sharing 5 that I highly recommend. No guesswork, just plants I know from experience will work. If you have a favorite carpet plant, drop it in the comments. Let's start this list with one of my all-time favorites, Riccia fluitans. I know, I talk about this plant a lot, but there's a good reason for that. It's undoubtedly one of the most versatile plants I've ever kept. Technically, it's a floating plant, but that doesn't mean you're stuck keeping it at the surface. I've used it in the background, mid-ground, and even turned it into tiny underwater trees. But today, we're focusing on its potential as a carpeting plant, and trust me, it can be amazing. It doesn't need soil, it grows incredibly fast, and it has these delicate, bright green leaves that make any tank look lush. The only catch is that since it naturally floats, you'll need to weigh it down with rocks, mesh, or even tie it to something. But once it takes off, you'll have a dense, vibrant carpet that's super easy to maintain. And if you guys are interested in this beautiful plant, I'm happy to let you know that I now have it for sale in my Etsy shop. It has been grown completely underwater, has all my other plants, and it's very healthy. As always, there'll be a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. If you've ever dreamed of creating a lush green valley in your aquarium, complete with rolling hills and mountains that make people stop and wonder how it's even possible, then Hairgrass is the plant you need. This one is an absolute classic when it comes to carpeting plants. It grows in thick, grass-like clumps that spread naturally, creating that perfect soft meadow-like look. And it's surprisingly beginner-friendly. Once it gets established, it spreads on its own, filling in empty spaces and making the tank look more natural over time. If you want that seamless rolling effect, regular trimming encourages to grow even denser. It does best with CO2 and decent lighting, but even without them, it can work. It'll just take a little longer to spread. The trick to planting it is to separate it into small clumps and space them out. This helps it spread more evenly instead of growing in one big messy patch. Whether you are going for a full carpet or just a few patches to soften up your aquascape, Hairgrass is one of the best plants out there to bring that vision to life. If you guys are enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And thank you so much to everybody who has already subscribed. In my opinion, the best carpeting plant out there has to be Dwarf baby tears. Or if you want to get fancy, Hemianthus callitrichoides cuba. This plant has tiny leaves, probably the smallest of any carpeting plant. And that's a big deal, because in aquascaping, smaller plants help create the illusion of a larger tank. The finer the detail, the more expansive your scape looks. But as amazing as Dwarf baby tears is, it does come with some requirements. Because I do believe that it is the best carpet plant in the hobby, but only for a high-tech setup. It needs CO2, and it needs strong lighting. This isn't one of those planted and forget it kinds of carpets. But here's something cool. Because it's so dependent on CO2, it actually works as a great indicator. If your CO2 levels are not ideal, Dwarf baby tears will be the first to let you know. It just won't thrive. But if it's doing well, that's a solid sign that your CO2 is right where it needs to be. So if you're running a high-tech tank and want that perfect, dense, vibrant green carpet, Dwarf baby tears is one of the best plants to go with. This next one isn't usually thought of as a carpeting plant, but I've used it as one with great results. Hydrocotyle tripartita. It has these beautiful clover-like leaves that spread out and create an awesome textured look in the tank. What I love about it is that it doesn't need to stay completely rooted in the soil. It can send out runners and grow across the substrate, even if parts of it aren't buried. But from my experience, at least some of it needs to be planted. The main portion should be getting nutrients from the soil, or it just won't do as well. Every time I've tried keeping it completely unrooted, it struggled. But once it gets going, it spreads fast. If you're going for a carpet, regular trimming is a must, otherwise it can start taking over your tank before you know it. The growth is quick, the leaves are unique, and it adds a different kind of texture compared to the more traditional carpets. If you want something a little different, but still easy to work with, Hydrocotyle tripartita is definitely worth trying. The last plant we are covering in this video is Monte Carlo. Now, I have to apologize in advance. I don't have a ton of footage of this plant. I used it in this tank right here, but I haven't really used it since. Not because I didn't like it, I actually think it's a great plant. But I personally prefer Hemianthus calitricoides, dwarf baby tears. So I tend to stick with that one. That said, Monte Carlo is a fantastic carpeting option, even more so if you want something a little easier to grow. It looks a lot like dwarf baby tears, but with slightly bigger leaves, which still gives you that dense, lush carpet effect. The big advantage of Monte Carlo is that it's much hardier. It can even work in low-tech setups, which is something dwarf baby tears struggles with. And surprisingly, it can even grow without soil. But if you go that route, you'll need to rely on heavy fertilization, and that can sometimes lead to algae issues. So while it's more forgiving overall, it still benefits from a good nutrient balance. Monte Carlo is also a great choice if you like a more natural, wild-looking carpet. Unlike dwarf baby tears, which tends to stay compact, Monte Carlo grows in a way that can look a little more relaxed, almost like a miniature meadow. It also sends out runners quickly, so once it gets established, it spreads fast. If you're looking for an easier alternative to dwarf baby tears, Monte Carlo is definitely worth trying. Those were 5 carpet plants for any skill level and any kind of setup. If there's any specific carpet plant that you guys like to use, please let me know in the comments.